When someone asks me what the main difference is between scoring a movie or a video game, my usual answer is interactivity. A film score follows the picture just as the viewer follows the story, but in video games we have this amazing possibility of the music following the player, reacting to their choices, their decisions. And when done right, it can create a very powerful emotional response, an immersion, a connection, almost like the music was composed specifically for your unique playthrough. And interactive music has already moved beyond just simple loops. Yet, from my own experience, a basic 1 or 2 minute loop is often what my clients ask for. So this is my attempt to inspire you to seek more expressive, more interesting ways of integrating music within your video games. My job as a video game composer is not only to compose the music and, maybe record musicians and produce it, mix and master. It is also to offer my insight into the interactive system. Sometimes a simple loop is the right answer, but usually it's not. And I think these decisions should be guided by what the game really needs to fulfill its full potential. This is my love letter to interactive music, my attempt to get you as excited about it as I am, whether you are from the industry or not.
Before we dive in, let me just point you towards my YouTube channel, where you can find the music in question. The video includes sheet music, which can also be found and downloaded on my Patreon. Now let's talk interactive music system. I'm planning on making a little series touching upon more complex, genre-specific and even experimental settings in the future. This one's more on a simple side. This is a sketch of the map. We have an entrance, 2 looting areas at each corner, 3 puzzle pieces, and a sanctuary, which is the objective. Right, so let's have a look at the actual music, the different pieces that go together with different stages. We start with an intro, an entrance stinger with fanfare when the player enters the area. Then we are in stage 0. We have this kind of system that I imagine as having 2 baskets, and the first basket contains the basic strips and the second one dynamic strips. And by strips, I mean short chunks of music that are randomly drawn by the system and put in order. And they can be, I have 4 bars, I think, but it's a slow tempo, so it's kind of long. I think above certain length, it doesn't really make sense to have this system, because then maybe you don't have enough time to cycle through them. And that is the point, that they're randomly organized. So you have to make sure that each of them works with every other, which is fun. So the basic ones are playing whenever the player is doing anything apart from interacting with the first puzzle. The moment he interacts with the first puzzle, we add the dynamic strips. And then as soon as he solves the puzzle, we get a transition that gets us to the next stage. Stage 1 works the same with different music. So we have basic strips, again, whenever the player is, not interacting with the second puzzle. And we add dynamic strips when he interacts with the second puzzle. And then once he solves the second puzzle, we get a transition again. It starts kind of innocent, but then enemies flood the area and we get kind of a corrupted version, which brings us into the combat music. The combat music here is very simple because I'll be making a dedicated video about combat music. So we start with an intro loop. And then as soon as the player defeats first enemy, or he loses a certain amount of HP, we go into the combat loop. And while the combat loop is playing, we can either add a winning layer when the player is winning, or when he's losing a lot of HP and not really doing any progress with the enemies, he gets a losing layer. And then we have two different endings. Of course, defeat, where we get a defeat stinger, and we go back to stage 1. But if the player wins, he gets a victory stinger, and we go to the next stage. Stage 3, basic strips again. This time the player can interact either with the chest puzzle, in that case he gets chest strips, he can also solve the chess puzzle at this moment, which gets him a transition to stage 4. Or the player can go straight to puzzle 3, and we also get transition to stage 4. So stage 4, depending how the player gets there, let's say he got here through the chess puzzle, he gets basic strips before he, interacts with the third puzzle. If he interacts with the third puzzle, he gets dynamic strips. Now, this final puzzle has 3 different configurations. One of them unlocks the chest, so he can go and loot the chest, which will give him the chest stinger, and then it goes back to the strips. The second configuration summons enemies, so basically it goes back to the combat music. And the third configuration actually finishes the puzzle and unlocks the sanctuary, and we get a nice outro. Awesome, so now you know the music. I didn't play everything because time, but you can go listen to the track on YouTube. But let's go to Fmod now and basically go through the whole section, go through the whole gameplay and see how everything works. So we get the entrance. And then it automatically goes to the basic strips. So at this point we're just walking around, exploring, maybe looting. Maybe we arrive to the second puzzle area and that one's closed, we can't do anything here. So we go back, maybe to the first puzzle, that one's accessible, so we interact with it. And so next time this loop ends, it's gonna go straight to the mix of both dynamic and basic strips. We're hearing a dynamic strip right there. So we're messing with the puzzle, trying to solve it, and this is just gonna keep looping in random order. And let's say we solved it. So again, it automatically goes to the next stage, the basic strips. So we're walking around again, trying to figure out what to do next, and then we see the second puzzle is accessible now. So again, as soon as I interact with it, the loop's not going to happen. It's going to go straight to the mix of both type of strips. There we still have a basic strip. Let's see if we get a dynamic one on the loop. And we don't, but that's fine. Now let's say we solve the puzzle. Again, it gives us a transition. But then, oops, enemies, they surround us, and we get a battle sequence. And so let's say I suck, and I'm not really doing a good job, and I'm losing a lot of HP. So the system decides it's time to go to the main combat loop. And again, the loop is going to be cancelled, and instead it's going to continue towards the transition. And let's say I still haven't learned my lesson and I still suck, and so pretty soon I get the losing layer mixed in. Cool. And so now maybe I tried a little harder and I actually managed to defeat a couple of the enemies, and the system decides it's time to go to the winning layer. And just so I actually do manage to win. You can notice there's a single strip here, and that's because I want that particular one to play at this point. And it still has all the required transitions available in the case that the player is fast. But let's say we're slowing things down after the battle, we're resting, we're regaining HP, just enjoying the calm music. And maybe now we notice that the chess puzzle is available, accessible, and so we ran towards it and we do interact with it. So you already know the drill. The loop gets deactivated and we go straight to the next batch of both basic and chess strips mixed in. So we're messing with the puzzle, trying to figure it out. Let's see if we get the dynamic strip. We don't. So the way it's set up is that the probability is equal for all of those 5 strips. And so maybe a smarter idea would be to actually increase the probability of the dynamic, or in this case, the chess strips. Well, there we have a chess strip right there. So that transition wasn't really as smooth as I would like. You always have to think about that there's going to be sound design, there's going to be ambience, there's going to be follies. Of course, if it's really clunky, I can go back and try and fix it, but sometimes you can save yourself with sound design. So here we are in the last stage and we go interact with the third puzzle. So we get our basic and dynamic strips again. So if you remember, this puzzle has 3 positions and one of them unlocks the chest. So the chest appears based on solving the chest puzzle. So let's say we do that. We go towards the chest, we open it and loot it. So that gets us the chest finger. And that goes back. And for the sake of time, let's say I miraculously skip the second position, which would summon enemies again, and I actually solve the puzzle, and we get a final outro stinger. So at this point the area is done, and we can enter the sanctuary and progress to the next go. And then, of course, the question would be, what happens if we linger in the area? And then probably I would either choose a specific batch of strips to keep playing after the area solved, or actually maybe just it doesn't need any more music because it's done, so the player can stick around, maybe go loot something he forgot, but we get no music, and maybe you just get ambience and animal sounds or something like that.
For me, interactive music is where storytelling and music really meet. It's not just a background layer. It's a meaningful conversation between the composer, the game, and the player. So if you're a starting developer, think of the interactive system as equal, perhaps even more important than the music itself. And if you're an aspiring composer, pitch not only your music, but how it's going to work in the game's environment. This is my love letter to interactive music. Thank you for watching.